I promise I had a plan. I had a really good plan. I had a smart plan, 3 years to prepare. That's what I thought. 3 years to get certified, to build a client base, to land softly into something new, whatever that chapter was. And I swear, at least it feels like it. God looked at my plan and said, yeah, chick, that's cute. But no. February 14th, 2025, everything changed and I was not ready, but I was also more prepared than I thought. So let me take you back to October 2024. Way back then, I was still fully employed. My son was still in high school and I think he was a sophomore at the time. And I made a no, he was a junior. And I made a decision that most people around me knew nothing about. I started interviewing people, not for a job, not for me to get hired either, right? I was interviewing people who were already doing what I thought I wanted to do next, that next chapter that I felt like God was starting to show me a little bit of a glimpse into what that could be. And so I started interviewing financial advisors across different states, different areas of the financial world. And I talked to at least 15 people over 4.5 months. I had a list of questions I brought to every single conversation. Basically, I followed the process from Ken Coleman's book, From Paycheck to Purpose. I asked each person, how did they launch? What education did they need? What did they love about the job that they were doing? What did they hate about it? What would they do differently? And I also asked them, how can I support you or serve you right now? That last question definitely mattered. Always go into a conversation asking how you can give, not just what you can get. It should be a win-win. If they're giving up their time to talk to me, I wanted to make sure I was giving them something in return. Didn't always have to be a transaction, but I wanted to at least serve them in some way, even if all I could do for them was pray. I also researched the CFP, CFA, AFC, all of those different certifications with the financial arena. And I did my DISC personality assessment a couple times. And I worked through the SHAPE framework, SHAPE. And that is the spiritual gift, the heart, the ability, personality, and experiences that each of us has that basically helps us determine what it is that God has designed us to do, to serve in this world while we're here. But somewhere around a month or 2 or 3 into the interviews, something started shifting in me. I could hear the passion in some of the voices of the people I was talking to, and I could also hear the struggle. And the more I listened, the more I realized something rather uncomfortable. Um, what they were doing looked too similar to the chapter I was already in, to the life I was already living. In December of 2024, I sat down and I reviewed a strategy I had built for myself. One line stopped me in that strategy. I'm a very strategic person. Reflect on your motivations and assess your skills and strengths. And I had to admit that the financial advisors who were truly successful had a fire for what they did, for their clients, for how they served. I knew I had the skills and I could learn the skills. I'm teachable, I'm coachable, but I didn't have the motivation. I assessed my skills and my strengths, good, good, check, check, but I didn't have the motivation and I knew it. And I know that I could not build something sustainable on just the skills and my strengths alone. Not in the next chapter. I needed the fire too. Here's what I want to tell Raquel as you're listening right now. Preparation is not always a straight line. Sometimes you do all the right things and what you end up with is not a path forward. Sometimes all of that work simply tells you what the answer is not. And that's just as valuable. I have kept a personal budget for pretty much 24 years since I was out of college. I can trace my finances back decades, like line item by line item. I know. And I was giving well over 10% of my income in tithes to the church. I know 10% is the tithes, and I was giving extra um, offerings, etc. And I was contributing to my son's college fund while still planning to pay off my home and still doing all of this without a spouse's income as a backup. Every proposal I received from financial planning companies would have had me feeling desperate for clients from day one, like desperate for them to say, yes, I will hire you as my financial advisor. And desperation is not a good look when you're trying to serve people well. So, what would I tell you? I would say, do your homework. Talk to real people doing the real thing that you want to do, not the highlight reel version that you see on social media, but the actual day to day hard work. And then take that information back to God and let Him speak into it. And don't rush Him. He doesn't do well with being rushed. He like really does not move any faster. Promise. Write down 3 names. This is something that you can do in the meantime. Write down 3 names, 3 people who are already doing the thing that you're considering doing in that next chapter. Not people you admire from a distance, but people who could actually reach out to and ask for 20 minutes of their time. And make sure you're prepared when you do. Don't just go in with like no questions. Make sure you've got all those questions ready. And make sure it's consistent questions too. So that way um, you're covering everything with each person. You do not need a perfect plan before you move into the next chapter. Promise. Um, you simply need a real conversation with them and start there. And I will add, read biographies. Read biographies of people who have succeeded in the industry that you desire to be in. You're going to find that their path to where they are, their path to success was not a straight line. It was probably a lot of hills and valleys. Real talk. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you about the exact moment that God changed everything.